What's going on? I am Jamie Dawn, your revolutionary astrologer, bringing you your celestial wisdom for the week of March 7th through the 14th of 2021. And it is a new moon in Pisces weekend. I hope, first of all, before I dive into this magical and just beautiful, sweet, amazing new moon that we have coming up, this whole week is laced with delicious energy. But I just want to check in with everybody and see how you're doing as March has started. Mars is now in Gemini. Of course, Venus has been in Pisces for the last 10 days or so. And the sun, of course, is in Pisces. And we just have so much sweetness, and we're ready to talk about it and connect and bring all kinds of ideas and inspiration into our lives. But let's start with the beginning of the week. We're going to start with the moon, which is where our emotions, our subconscious, our instinctual habits, the way that we respond or react to emotional charges or triggers, that moon is going to be in Capricorn, canoodling with Pluto right at the start. And so most likely we're going to start this week feeling very deep, intense emotions, very powerful emotions that we want to make sure are communicated in some way, shape, or form. It's possible with Pluto involved that some hidden motivations or even some emotions that you didn't even know were there about a person or a situation comes to the surface, and it wants to be looked at, it wants to be dealt with, it wants to be talked about. And I would offer that use the Piscean energy with the sun in Pisces to soften what shows up, to give yourself permission to take a step back, have a macro view so that you don't get caught in that immediate moment. Because I would imagine that, Sunday, Monday, we're going to be in that place of like, oh, this is what's real. I don't like it, or this is what's real. I really like it. And I'm just going to stay in this state. And I'm going to offer it's a moment by moment, it changes. Remember, the moon changes signs every about 2.5 days. So our moods go with this and our emotions flow with it. The moon is represented by the element of water, which ebbs and flows. So that's the invitation, is that we can feel and sense whatever shows up, but try not to make it so fixed and become obsessed, because that is one of the other things that Pluto could activate, is this obsessive feeling or energy. And then we're like, okay, I've got to wrestle this to the ground, or I've got to make it happen, or this is the way it always is. I would imagine a lot of people are going to be using words like always and never on these couple of days. Now, we're also probably going to want to have this deeper connection and, with others, maybe with ourselves. And a perfect way to use what's happening this month in particular is to connect first from a spiritual nature and then bring it into the mundane. Now, I realize that that's not always the fun thing. I'll talk about that and how we can really use this week's energy to do that very thing. But the other thing I want to point out, the energy is moving, and this is that perfect setup at the beginning. The energy is moving with the sun closer and closer to Neptune in Pisces, which they will canoodle Wednesday, Thursday, offering us more hope, more faith, maybe a little more feelings of euphoria or enchantment about something in our lives that maybe we've been waiting for a while. Now, I want to talk about the positive nature of the sun and Neptune canoodling. So the positive side of this energy is we can find ways to have more hope and more inspiration, as I mentioned, from dreaming or transcendent states. The negative that we have to watch with that, especially if we're trying to escape, that's one of the negatives or shadows, is also transcendent states or escapism often can lead from addictive qualities or substances, that we're not wanting to have responsibility. We don't want this heavy sort of reality, if you will. And so we escape using something that may not be the best thing for us. However, This is another positive time that this could be a highly creative space. And with Mars and Gemini, it's a perfect time to write, to talk, and to connect all these abstract concepts and download streams of consciousness, all of that, that maybe just comes flooding in because we're leading up to this new moon, and it just comes flooding in. Use it, especially if you are someone who is in a creative field, or you have that inner creator that is waiting just for that right moment, that burst of inspiration to come through. That's also where you can use this week's energy. And anything that helps you get to that state of inspiration, maybe it's music, maybe it's exercise, being in nature, it might be art, meditation. What we're looking for are ways to be of great service, finding our individual expressions, and then using it as an opportunity to be of great service from a more spiritual nature. So we're working more with the beingness of whatever shows up and the beingness of ourselves, bringing out the best versions of ourselves and offering it in a way that helps others become the better version of themselves. It's not so much of a tangible thing, even though you'll probably use tools that are in construct or form, like money or gifts, or actually, exercising, moving the body, getting tasks off your list, that sort of thing. But really, I would imagine this week is going to have a lot more of talking and maybe just communicating through our words, maybe through telepathic information, connection. I would also say that any sort of transcendent state could happen through sex. That's also a wonderful creative opportunity. One other thing, just to point out a shadow of this energies week, is that it's possible that some of us are wrestling with our sense of purpose, that we start questioning it, and maybe we have a little confusion because we've gone down this one path and then something else shows up that makes us question whether we're on the right path or not. And that is a possibility. If so, please use this Mars and Gemini energy to talk to like a professional, talk to a good friend, a counsel, a mentor, somebody that you can kind of bounce off these ideas, gain perspective, things like that. Because I mentioned in my blog about the movie Inception. If anybody hasn't seen it, highly recommend it. It's such a great movie, especially working with other states of consciousness like dream state. And they had a marker that they would carry with them to make sure that they could come back into another state of mind. And so that's something I encourage us to do this week in particular, is to have that marker that reminds us, oh, wait, that's one state. I have another state in which I can return to and then integrate them. And that's what I want to encourage us to continue to do, is that we can integrate this energy by experiencing all this transcendence and then finding ways to apply it to the mundane. I was talking to somebody just the other day about this very thing. And, she was saying something I've said before, and I'm sure many of you who are watching these videos, you probably say the same, but the human experience is heavy and it's so hard sometimes. And the last thing we want to do is be human and do the mundane things, especially when you've had this taste or this awakening, as we're calling it in the New Age movement. And you get this real taste of euphoria, if you will, and then we're constantly chasing that and we're escaping being human. And what I'm going to offer is that we can make everything a spiritual practice. And this is what my response to her was, is that we can take the mundane, the to-do list, the paying the bills, the having sex, the exercise, you name it. We can take all of these human experiences and turn them into the spiritual practice that they are, because it brings us into a greater awareness of ourselves. And the way that we can apply this and integrate the spirituality to these mundane is noticing what happens to every sense of yourself. Because being conscious isn't a greater state, if you will. It's just it's where our senses are all engaged and we're aware of them. And so what I offer is that we can take this spiritual mindset, place it on the human experience, and then notice how all of our senses, all 6 of them, are active and what is transforming inside of us as we go through these practices. So, or have these experiences. Now, speaking of practices and experiences, we may have extremely active or potent dream time. Use it. For those of you who practice lucid dreaming, for those of you who love to go into dream state to receive messages, keep your dream journal handy. Wake yourself up at certain times, get back to sleep and get in that hypnagogic state or that hypnopompic state. Let your mind work in a different way and receive all this information. And I would say too, that if you need a teacher or a mentor, keep them on speed dial. That way you can process what shows up. Because remember that a lot of times in dream state, it's archetypical. However, we do receive some pieces of real information that we can apply into our everyday lives. Great setup to this new moon. I want to talk about the new moon because this weekend, the 13th is our new moon, but we're going to be feeling the beautiful energy of the sun and the moon, of course, canoodling, because that's what makes it a new moon. But we also have our cosmic love, beauty, harmony, goddess, Venus, canoodling with Neptune and the sun and the moon. And so this gives us a potent, we've got 4 beautiful, well, 2 luminaries and 2 planets in this sweet and euphoric and just, as I've said before, this Piscean energy is the essence of all that is this divine nature merged together. What may be active for all of us, we're going to be turning our attention towards close and intimate personal relationships. Most likely that's going to be on our mind. And we're going to want to canoodle with someone special. So whether you're single or you're bonded, this is a great weekend to engage in connection with someone is special and important. If you're single and you're not dating anybody, that's a great time to initiate putting yourself out there in some way. So whether it is a meetup group or an online dating site, or it's, hey, friend, family member, hook me up with somebody, go, please put yourself out there. You couldn't ask for a better time this year for it. We also have Jupiter and Mercury are still close enough of a conjunction that it can expand the communication and it can help give you that sense of courage, if you will, that abundant feeling that you can actually connect with somebody and have intelligent conversation and interesting conversation. And maybe you paint this beautiful picture with them of what could be in a relationship down the road. And it's fun to plan for the future. I would imagine that many of us who are in a relationship of some sort with someone that has our attention, that we're going to actually see the hope and the inspiration of where this relationship is going and where it can take us. The other thing with this new moon, our imaginations, creativity, seduction, charm highlighted. So use the relationship sector to ramp that up. Capitalize on this. This is why we have new and full moons and rituals around it, is so that we can gather all that energy and then channel it into one direction. Now, the other thing I would say is, yes, we'll probably be willing to put on these rose-colored glasses, maybe make things better than what they are, maybe paint them into some sort of fantasy that isn't really real. You know what? From my mouth to the goddess's ears. Enjoy the hell out of it. Just please don't overthink this weekend. I would offer that keep your marker handy so that you can come back to reality when you need to, but please enjoy it for what it is. If you're willing to put that effort in, if you're willing to stay open to receive, this is a very receptive time. If you're doing ritual at this time, ritual to the goddesses, ritual of open to receive. Water rituals, all of those things are really potent during this time. This is also a great time for anybody who's thinking about marriage. If you've already planned it, this is a great time for engagement, maybe having a ceremony, even if it's not your actual wedding ceremony, maybe it's a commitment ceremony, and something that just allows you to have this deeper integration time. I would offer that this weekend is not about the practical as much as it's about merging with the beloved, merging with the all that is, however you do it. I mentioned in my blog, the Iris Gomos, and some of you are familiar with that divine marriage. Set yourself up to have that experience. It is a beautiful, transcendent experience, and it allows you to connect and to bring in the higher wisdom, the higher mind, and bring it into an integrative point. And this is part of the work that we're all called to do here, is to continue to raise the vibration of this planet. And we can do it through times like these. All right, you guys, I really hope that this video helps. Please check out your monthly horoscopes that I'm posting now by sign, also on this channel. And I look forward to connecting with you. Find me at jamiedawn.com. Like, subscribe, share, comment. I look forward to talking with you. Have a great week, everybody.